Welcome to another episode of the Fascia Masters podcast. My name is Quinn Castley and I'm the VP of Block Therapy. This, of course, is Deanna Hansen, the founder of Block Therapy. And today we're going to be talking specifically in the face. And this is because the results people have been getting, and we did make this a focus a long time ago, was actually the Facelift program. And we just want to chat a little bit more about it on how we're getting so much success, what we're seeing in the cosmetic world, and how much people are spending on it, and it's actually starting to cause more harm than good. A lot of these topicals or fillers or whatever they're really doing to the face. Again, this is my expertise. But then we also have the Aesthetician's program, the Block Therapy University program that you and Jane Mann, who's an esthetician in Las Vegas, have partnered together to do this incredible program. And you guys are hosting a webinar shortly, or a masterclass, shortly, to really explain what you're doing and the program and everything. So that's going to be amazing. And then we're going to talk briefly about the 30-day upper body winner, because you showed me the before and afters, and I was just, I couldn't believe it. Like, it's crazy still to see how amazing these results are in the face. Well, in the whole body, but in the face, it's like, wow, you're seriously changing major structural changes. Sorry for saying changes a million times in the face, and lifting it, looking younger. You mentioned different expressions on the face, just looks, it's just amazing. So let's start off with pretty well the protocol. Would that be a good start? Or if somebody were to approach you, this might be better, and saying, hey, I want to lift my face. I want to look younger. And again, we're not going to get big into anti-aging, but I want my face to look younger. What should I do?
So the first thing to understand when we're dealing with fascia, and we'll call it aging, but is that beauty isn't only skin deep, it's cell deep. Like skin to the body, fascia is the skin to the cell. So if we want the cells to represent health and beauty, that's what we need in order for us in the bigger picture to represent health and beauty. If the cell is strangled, starving, dirty, toxic, so will we appear that way. So everything in the universe is a mirror of itself, right? We've talked about that. So what is going on in the single cell is really what's going on in the whole body. So we always approach the body in the same way. And we also need to really understand cause sites versus issue sites as well. So most importantly, we need to engage that breath, because when we have skin that is full of, whether it's acne or dark spots or rosacea, there's breakage, there's lack of flow, there's toxins in the tissue. So we've learned from that beautiful study done in 2014 that 84% of weight loss comes through proper exhalation, but it's the detoxification effect that creates the weight loss. So there's toxicity everywhere. And if it's in our head, we might have issues like brain fog or vision issues or anything else like that, but it's also going to come out of our skin. So for people that are having like struggles with skin appearance, maybe they have acne or whatever's going on, they're going to have a blockage right through here, this major lymphatic drainage site. If it's blocked, and for most people it is because we sit in front of that computer, the head gets pulled forward, we're literally strangling the body's ability to pull away that waste. So anything dirty isn't attractive. I mean, that's just the reality, right? And also anything hungry. When it comes to cells, it's like blowing up that balloon. We want that balloon to be nice and full and round and almost defying gravity. We don't want the cell to look like the balloon where half of the air is taken out, where it's wrinkled, it's attracting dust in the creases, it's heavy, it falls to the ground. So when we're not breathing properly, we have cells that, first of all, aren't nice and round and full. And we also have dirt in our system. So now we become this wrinkly, dirty looking body.
So we need to detoxify while oxygenating our cells. And again, going back, like the number one essential or nutrient is oxygen in the body.
Yeah.
So if you want your face to look younger, you need to give it that most essential nutrient, which is oxygen. So just accessing the diaphragm and breathing more so properly is what will be a massive benefit already.
Exactly. And then looking at the structure. So the head is at the top of this beautiful thing that we have called our body. So it responds to everything beneath it. So if we have that flat tire in the foot, that pronation that's causing the body to get pulled away out of alignment and it's pulling everything in the body forward and down, that's going to be pulling the head forward and down. And then that, again, is going to create asymmetry. We're dominant on one side of the body. So because we're not symmetrical, over time, these asymmetries of use add up. We start becoming bigger on one side than the other. We start tipping in one direction than the other. And gravity is constantly pulling us down. So if I'm perfectly linear and aligned, gravity is going to be pulling down in this more linear way. But as soon as I start tipping off, now these spirals start. And gravity is constantly pulling things like waves over and over again. And because the fascia is designed to keep us upright, it's saying, hey, wait, I don't want you falling away from where you're supposed to be. So it grips and adheres to bone to create that structure. But that structure is created at a loss of flow. So now we get, again, cells on the other side of those adhesions that are not properly fed and clean. And that's going to be largely what's causing aging. I mean, we can even look at hair, for example. We all want to have nice, full, healthy looking hair, whatever it is. We want it to be healthy and full. And we have these hair follicles. So you need blood flow and oxygen to feed the hair follicles to grow your healthy hair. But if I'm sitting and I start tipping off for 20 years, what's happening is my whole system is coming forward, my skull is coming forward. And because fascia is designed to counterbalance these forward pulls, the fascia starts migrating in the equal and opposite direction. So now the hair follicles are getting pulled away and they get basically blocked from life. So then we start losing hair. And you see people as we get older, we tend to, our hairline starts to recede, or you might have one side that's where your hair is turning grayer than the other. And these are all indicators of areas that aren't receiving optimal amounts of blood and oxygen flow.
Yeah, that's wild. So let's talk about what a lot of people are typically using on their face right now, because like we were talking about this earlier, how many billions of dollars are spent on cosmetics or just anything to make you look a little bit younger in your face? So these are topicals such as creams, lotions, etc. Then we have injections. So we'll say Botox fillers. Again, I don't know all these. Microneedling was something along those lines.
Microcurrents and threading. Yeah, I don't know either. But
then anyway, you can get to the extent of even like a facelift.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the end game, similar to when you're trying to treat chronic pain. The end game is like, okay, you're going to go for surgery. Yeah. So what is there potential harm to any of these modalities? Let's not get into the facelift yet, but just the lotions, top.
Absolutely. Because fillers. First of all, I mean, yeah, if we, especially like we here in Winnipeg, we live in a really dry winter. So you need to moisturize, but you want to use natural things that the body understands, because whether you're putting it in your mouth or on your skin, it's absorbing into your system.
I've heard that. I've heard don't put anything on your skin that you wouldn't put in your mouth.
Exactly. So, I mean, like I use a coconut oil combination salve on my skin, and that's what I use now for my skin, as opposed to even organic stuff, because there's chemicals and things, and I'm super sensitive to chemicals. So chemicals, your liver's going to have to process it. And the most important thing is, if your liver's backed up and clogged, this is your major filtration organ for cleaning your body. So if it's backed up and clogged, you're backed up and clogged, and then things are going to start coming out your skin again.
Right.
So we don't want to be putting more stuff into our body that's going to tax the liver. And then the cell too, it doesn't like that. I mean, it's not a natural thing. We are these beautiful organic bodies, and we start changing what we do to them. We start impairing the cell's ability to replicate in its most perfect, beautiful way, because change occurs. So, I mean, and the cost itself can be just scary and cause you to frown and cause aging in itself. So topical stuff, I mean,
that's funny.
Yeah. But yes, you want to use something that's going to be hydrating and something that's going to be healthy for your skin. And that, I mean, everybody's unique in what works for them, but anything chemical based, in my view, is not going to be good, because again, it's got to get processed through your liver.
So what would you say is the major cause to, I don't want to say aging, but for a face to look older than it should, question mark. Someone along those lines, like, why do some people's face tend to age faster or look older than others?
Well, and that's a great question. And so much of it is expression. What we do all the time adds up to create the scenario that we're in. And I mean, when you're young and like, oh, stop making that face or it's going to stick. There's a little bit of truth to that, right? So if we're always frowning, we're going to get the frown lines. If we're always chewing on only one side of our mouth, we're going to create asymmetry.
Yeah.
Symmetry is in the aesthetic world what is considered more beautiful than asymmetry.
Right.
So if we're doing things all the time that are going to create asymmetry, that's going to impair how we look. If we're not happy, if we're not breathing, if we don't have joy in our life, that's all going to show through that outward expression on your face. But it's not about the face specifically. It's about what's going on in the rest of the body, because the rest of the body determines what is going to happen to the face. If I have a pronation and I'm getting pulled forward and down and I'm getting twisted, that's going to work all the way up the chain. So to try to create symmetry just from here up without looking at the whole system, you're going to be running in circles, because you start walking again, you get pulled back in, and then it's going to just be confusing.
So expression, posture can be a major contributor to your face looking asymmetrical or even causing more wrinkles.
Breath.
Obviously, the breath, sure, the type of food you eat.
Hydration.
Rest. Right. Rest.
Sleep. Most important thing, because we feel when we sleep.
Yeah. Sleep is probably the biggest thing I've heard when it comes to just rejuvenating cells.
But it's even like things like, I became very aware a number of years ago. We were, you'll remember this, I won't get into the details, but we were working with a very toxic individual. And for that 4 months of my life, I think I was the most stressed I have ever been. And I got really, really sick. And prior to that moment, I really didn't spend much time in front of the computer. So technology is another thing.
Oh, working. I thought you meant working on somebody.
No.
Working with,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So even that negative frequency coming off your cell phone. So I actually really saw a change in how my face was aging when I'm suddenly more on the computer, because now, I used to work in my dark room with my eyes closed, working on clients, and I worked hard, but I was calm in my face.
Yeah.
Now I'm on this computer, I'm getting pummeled by this.
So different.
Oh gosh. And then you center your eyes into this little phone. Everything is getting drawn down and tight. My point being, though, when I was really stressed, I recognized that unconsciously I was pursing my lips.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I'm seeing, holy smokes, I'm really getting a lot of lines around my lips. And that became my habit. So I'd catch myself driving and I'm like, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? So I've been working for the last couple of years to make the natural smile my habit, and it's coming along and it's made a difference.
You're very good at that.
Thank you. Well, and I've noticed that since I've been doing that, these lines are actually starting to change.
Yeah.
And I'm getting more balanced again in my jaw. I've also had a couple of teeth removed. So dentist stuff is big. I have all 4 of my wisdom teeth, but I'd cracked a molar when I was in my 20s, and then it became a problem. So I ended up getting it pulled, and I didn't get a root canal or another tooth or anything like that. So when we do have a lack of foundation, that will also affect things. So knowing that, I'm conscious of my alignment of my tongue. Because if I don't have a tongue that's supporting the alignment of my jaw, and I just let gravity win, it's going to get pulled over to one side and twisted. And that's ultimately what's going to happen, is we get pulled away. How many people clench? If you're clenching your jaw, and how many people have TMJ? A lot of people. It's letting you know that there's an unconscious reaction happening to these muscles to try to keep your jawbone in alignment. And we'll even do it when we're sleeping.
What if it's just stress related though?
What's the difference? Stress causes us to not hold the breath though. So as soon as we're not breathing properly, then we're not feeding those cells what they require. So then they go into these responses.
I'm sorry, what did you initially say? We typically clench
So when
like an unconscious way to align the jaw?
Yeah. So this lower jawbone, the mandible, it's not fixed on the skull. Like it's connected by ligaments, right? So it moves left and right. It moves up and down, all these things. As soon as the jaw isn't aligned properly, like if I'm tipping forward all the time and twisting my head over to one side, gravity's going to pull this bone and it's going to twist it and pull it over to the right or the left, depending on my posture. So unconsciously, I'm going to go and I'm going to clench my jaw to try to keep my jaw. That's those fascia adhesions, right? Yeah. So the clenching is a response to things not being positioned where they're supposed to be because it can't relax. And that can even happen when you're sleeping. And you're thinking, well, funny, because I mean, why when you're sleeping doesn't matter. But even when you're sleeping, if you're coiled in this forward alignment, your jaw is still getting pulled there. And proprioception, right? Like in your fascia's understanding, it's still not aligned. So it's still going to go into that contraction mode. And so clenching is another thing that's going to cause a lot of change to what's going on with your teeth, to your alignment in general, as well as your vision. So vision especially, and it's great because we're tapping into vision a ton in the community groups, and I'm doing a lot of work with a lot of the people, which is super fascinating. But when we have an eye that is more dominant, which is pretty much everybody does, then again, we tip over to one side, because if I'm looking at you and this is my strong eye, it's going to be the one that's more forward. The other one's going to go into a bit of a hiding, but that's going to determine what I do with my entire body so I don't fall over.
That's so interesting, because that's so similar to how you talk about the one leg that kind of gets splayed out and then it's flat, but then the left glute acts as the anchor because it's more back. So like that example you just gave me, your right eye is kind of like the right leg, and then the left eye is like the left glute, kind of like trying to pull and hold it back.
Exactly. And so as time goes on and these asymmetries increase, then things, more adhesions develop in the body. There's less blood and oxygen flow, and we continue to age.
So I got a good question, and I'm sure people will be very curious with this answer. What makes a wrinkle a wrinkle?
It's a fascia adherence to the bone. It's a false wall and a false floor.
So you can get rid of wrinkles.
You can get rid of wrinkles, but the thing is, again, from the perspective of how we age in a healthy way, to have a face that has 0 wrinkles, you might as well go and get the Botox and the facelift, because it's unrealistic. I mean, like when you smile, I mean, you're going to have wrinkles. I mean, you smile. Yeah, you still have wrinkles when you smile, even though you're only 28.
Yeah.
So me being 54, I have a lot more than you. But at the end of the day, if I didn't create symmetry in my face, I would have more on one side, and that's where things are going to get really skewed, right? Because as I'm tipping over, now the fascia, as it moves in waves and spirals, is going to spiral and grip onto bone. So we build up these false walls and false floors. So if I always have my head tipped over to the left, I'm going to build up more scaffolding inside the fascia system. So basically more collagen is going to get built up to try to stop the tissue from dragging and hanging. However, the more collagen there is, the less integration. So then the more gravity is actually going to grip and pull and drag and hang. So basically, as we age and we develop these wrinkles, it's because we don't have proper postural foundation. So the body has to build foundations out of collagen at the, or instead of using like the tongue muscle as an example.
Right. So then I've heard jowls a lot. I'm starting to hear, is that?
That's
here.
This area.
Chin and your jaw.
Yeah, and it hangs over time. But again, if I'm leaning forward all the time and tilting, this is going to start to get hangy.
So something that I've noticed in my own face, just slightly, you can almost see like a little line here, and then
they're marionette lines, they're called.
Yeah, but when I press down here, like, there's a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So obviously that's adhesions, and it's some sort of expression or something repetitively I'm doing too much during the day is causing these grips to going on. So when I release this, I already know it's going to start changing that line there or this line here, and it's, I think, a little bit more pronounced on the right side than the left. But that'll be interesting, just starting to work in there, and how we'll do.
And the face is so fascinating because of the landscape. We have all these hills and valleys in the face, right? So like, we've got the cheekbones, we've got the jaw, we've got the nose, we've got this, and we've got like these big orbits where the eyes are. So there's a ton of space in the eyes. So again, if I'm tipping over this way over the next 20, 30 years, and my eyes are starting to get pulled into this space, they're going to start to adhere. My left eye will adhere more to the left part of the socket. The right eye will adhere more to the left part of that right socket. And then they're going to get stuck that way. And then there's going to be a lack of flow into the eyes. Now my vision is going to be compromised. But as the fascia starts getting sucked in to the space, Now I might have dark circles under my eyes. And it's funny because, I mean, honestly, the world of aesthetics is interesting, and the marketing around it, right? It's a funny beast. But so there's eye creams, and eye creams are, not that I buy them, so I'm going off memory, but eye creams are like probably the most expensive of all creams because, oh my gosh, this is such tender little skin. You've got to be so delicate. It's not delicate. It is no more delicate than anywhere else. It's just pulled so far away from alignment because we have this big orbit and we've all this tissue that's sucked down and it's gripped on the underside of the bone. So now it's pulled thin. But if we release that and we integrate it back up, we can bring it back up to life. I mean, here we've got the cheekbones as we're, falling out of balance. The underside of the cheekbone is where all these adhesions are gripping to try to stop the skin from falling away. So the face is fascinating because of the landscape. It's different than any other part of the body. But at the end of the day, we need to look at the full body because what is going on in the limbs is directly manipulating the rib cage. It's manipulating the breath. It's manipulating what's happening here. And when it comes to aesthetics, we want there to be cells that are properly fed and clean. We want there to be symmetry and balance in the body. And that's what our whole program and system is about. And exciting, we now have a program for the esthetician where we are teaching them to do the work on their clients with our new tool, the face paddle. Block paddle. And it's a protocol specifically to get into these spaces and really release the adhesions in this whole space. But it is a full body approach. We teach the esthetician to focus for your client on the full body, but then your application is face targeted. So when you have the client that does the work and you combine it with that, it's magic.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Now you can give your client a protocol to do at home and then come see me, and then I'll work directly in your face with the protocol that you and Jane put together.
Yes, because if you don't choose to be a conscious breather, my work is going to be maybe 10%, 20% effective. You need to own your breath, and that's the bottom line. Wow,
that's insane. So that's very exciting. So that enrollment period, I know it's pretty short, it's 2 weeks long, and that's October
2nd, the enrollment or the registration ends for the estheticians program.
Right, sorry.
Yes.
We're still in September.
Yes.
So September 17th to October 7th. Or
2nd.
Wow, Quinn.
So our master class is September 17th on Sunday.
How are they? We need to just say okay.
I know, it's been a long day. Yeah.
So you have, the master class. That's on what day?
And I actually think this is going to be aired after the master class, but that master class is recorded and it's available for people to register until October 2nd. And then we actually start October 16th with this program.
Right. And so that's a 2-week enrollment period. And then once you're in that block therapy for estheticians program, which is part of our university, then you have lifelong access to it, correct?
Yeah.
And then you have live Q&A calls with you and Jane.
Yep.
And all content that's in there.
There's a ton of beautiful content in there.
They can find all that information on the website. So that's amazing. So let's also touch up on the 30-day upper body challenge winner. So before we get too deep into it, what was the intention and the protocol for this 30-day program?
So interestingly, this intention was to focus from the base of the rib cage up, encompassing the shoulders, arms, and hands, head, neck, and face, rib cage, upper back, that whole area. But having said that, because of course the foundation is always key, every single day I prompted people to focus on their foundation with the Pronator Corrector series and continue to cycle through. So fascinating, unbelievable changes in 30 days to our winner who we will be sharing. And it was truly remarkable. Her entire shape of her face changed where her chin was being pulled over and drawn down to one side. It is now centered and lifted. Her face broadened. The frown lines that were also not in the center, they were actually pulled over to one side because of the way her body was falling. They're gone. But and then her whole neck and her upper chest changed dramatically. But what was most exciting to see was how calm and at peace she looked. In the before photo, she looked like she was guarding. In the after photo, it was just like, here I am.
Yeah.
There was grace and ease in her expression. And you just, you felt so approachable to this person, right? And so accepting, there was just something about her where you were just like, wow, I can't stop looking at you. You just look so healthy and relaxed.
Yeah. So, and that program was in our Block Therapy membership, and that was called the
30-day upper body challenge.
Upper body challenge, right? So that was generic to the upper body, but just the facelift that came with it for her was incredible.
Well, and actually not surprisingly, but because we had like sort of prompted it to be more pictures of this, we got a lot of people sending in pictures from the rib cage up. The change in the dowager hump, widow hump, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, like that was unbelievable. I was like, holy smokes, every single person that sent in pictures, not everybody had a big hump before, but a lot did, which in itself is surprising.
Yeah.
Gone. Just like, holy smokes, it's gone.
Yeah.
So very exciting.
That's very, very cool. Wow. So a lot was shared in a pretty short period of time. I know we're a little bit tight on time, so we'll probably wrap up here.
Yeah.
So I think we covered a lot on really what happens to the face, why it tends to age or look older than others, the factors.
And just if people are interested, because you did prompt in the beginning, we're talking about fillers and injections and all of those things in that Aesthetician's webinar, that if people want to have it, they can get it emailed out.
Yeah, it's free. It's free to access.
Yeah, and we go into a deep dive about all these things where Jane is sharing the approaches and why they're problematic and how they can actually damage more down the road than not doing anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know we chatted earlier how there is still ways to like detoxify from that if people are still doing that. Again, this isn't my topic or my forte, so I'm going to save that for you and Jane. But yeah, I say definitely go check out that masterclass that you two are putting on. Jane's seen it all probably.
Yeah. And no matter where you're starting from, if you do this, there will always be improvement.
Right.
Bottom line.
That's such a hopeful statement.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's wrap it up. Thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. And yeah, if you're new to this, you want to check out Block Therapy, again, blocktherapy.com. You can grab a bunch of free stuff. You can check out our YouTube channels. You can check out all of our channels. It's always at Block Therapy. And if you just want to be part of our community group, check out our Facebook community group. Type in Block Therapy Community. Just request access, then you'll be in. And that's pretty much everything. So yeah, thank you for watching. We are uploading these podcasts weekly, so we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.